Hello and welcome to another episode of
Absolute Game of Nerd!
Right On. With today we have episode 77. I am solo right now. JP will be joining us here in a little bit, so you will have him today as well. But with us today we have Neil from Omega Level Comics. I hadn't met Neil until recently. JP mentioned that he had picked up a few books from Neil. And I was like, I got to figure out who Neil is. Reach out. We've been talking since. So just another great member of our community. So Neil, say hi. How you doing?
What's going on, YouTube community? Thank you for having me, Rohan. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. So Neil, we always start all of our interviews with the same question. And that question is, what is your origin story? So take us all the way back. When did the love first start?
Origin story. Well, we were just chatting a little bit. My brother is 12 years older than me.
Okay.
So he was born in 69. So he had all those cool movies like Star Wars and Star Trek and really what I consider the best age of Marvel. He was brought up during those times, and I inherited everything that he had. All of his Star Wars toys, all of his comic books, everything. Dungeons and Dragons.
Is that just
you name it, nerd.
You got too old for it or something?
More so that I appropriated it when he went to college. I stole all of his stuff. Yeah. He was a big comic book fan, and he loved the X-Men. And that's where my love of the X-Men comes from, is my brother. I remember reading my first comic books that I remember reading were the Silvestri issues, Inferno, and the issues before that in the 210 to 240 range. So when he bought those all off the rack, and I, as I said, appropriated them and fell in love with Cyclops and Colossus and Storm and Wolverine, and just it never stopped after that. And even before that, I'm going to show you a little picture here. Here's baby Omega in his plastic Doctor Doom costume.
Excellent.
So that's basically my origin story. I was born into it, into collecting, and born into the comic book scene.
I love it. Now, as your childhood progressed and you appropriated these comics, was it always just X-Men at the start, or kind of, where else did you have interests? What other characters, what other titles?
Yeah, so I'm full disclosure, I'm a Marvel fanboy through and through. I love DC. If you gave me a choice, I would have to say Marvel for sure. If I was on a desert island, yeah. But he had a pretty eclectic mix, and now I'm about 5 or 6 years old when I really start flipping through the books and looking at them and reading them. And he had everything from Ronin to Hard Boiled to Watchmen, because he was more mature and older. The Dark Knight Returns was a big book that got me. So no, he wasn't all Marvel. He was definitely a broader scope and liked a lot more stuff outside of the box than I do. He had the Origins of Marvel comic book, the trade paperback, that first that staple written by Stan Lee that it showed the origin of Spider-Man, and it showed the origin of the Fantastic Four, and then it had a couple issues. I remember reading that trade paperback book quite a bit. But no, he had a whole bunch of other stuff that he liked to read, and I, again, appropriated. But Marvel through and through stuck with me, and the X-Men for sure. X-Men and the Avengers and Spider-Man were probably my three.
And I have to assume Dr. Doom, after you showed us the Dr. Doom photo there.
Yeah, Dr. Doom's one of the favorite villains, along with Magneto. Yeah, you can't really get better than those two guys.
Yeah, awesome. So then, as you grew up, did your love continue, or did you take a break as well at some point?
Yeah, watching, your issues, your episodes, it seems to be a running theme that, yeah, there is like a lull in collecting. I was probably 15 or so when I stopped really buying books. I would ride my bike to Comic Zone every chance I could, and then that kind of stopped when they moved out, and then comic book stores actually started closing. Looking back at it now, I think it was probably a lack of availability to comics that got me out of it. And I kind of gravitated towards video games, and just kind of, starting my collection with video games, which I still have.
Now, were they Marvel video games or just any video games?
Oh, I all video games. Yeah, I'm a pretty big video game freak. So I got into that and really stopped collecting. But at some point, I think it was when not until the New 52 came back out. So I'm already into my 30s. I stopped when I was 15, 16, and then didn't get back into it till the New 52 came out. Because for me, it felt like, all right, they're rebooting the whole universe. If I jump in right now and get on board with this, I can experience the whole universe and not be lost. You know what I mean? Because there's always that feeling.
That had appeal to you, even though that was DC? Because I know you said you were such a Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, having a brand new universe just be constructed out of thin air kind of really sparked my interest again. Yeah, I was like, what are they going to do here? Like, how can they? I mean, it's DC. They've been around for 100 years. What are they going to do? And I mean, all critiques aside, it wasn't the best reboot that they've done, but it got me back interested into comics.
So what year are we talking about here exactly? I'm not 100% sure when exactly the New 52 kicked out.
New 52, I'm thinking 2011 or 12.
Okay, that makes sense. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and I remember buying Batman #1, Flash #1, Green Lantern #1, Wonder, all the #1s, man. And I'm just like, I'm gonna make some money. I'm gonna put my kids through college. But no, I remember just starting off reading those brand new stories with just kind of like an open mind, and I haven't stopped since then.
The Batman, that's the Greg Capullo, Scott Snyder run, right? The New 52.
Yes,
that's a cool little run though, with the Court of Owls, and
it's the best thing that came out of there. I mean, the Court of Owls it was written so well, you feel like it's always been a part of Batman. You know what I mean? Like that's such 100%. a good story.
Even for me that still wasn't into the comics, and when I got back in, I learned about it. I was like, oh yeah, the Court of Owls. That just makes so much sense. That's been around for forever.
Right?
They like fit right in. Like totally agree. So you've been back in then now for over a decade then.
I guess so, man. Jeez.
Yeah,
getting old.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, that's longer than most of the people we've had on. Most people are like you said, 30s. I was 39. JP was early 40s, and most people are kind of in that kind of range. So you got a little bit of a head start, and you got a lot of time in before the big boom.
But I didn't do a lot of real collecting. Like I bought stuff off the rack that I liked. I bought a lot of trade paperbacks. I bought a lot of Marvel Essentials, the black and white, to kind of fuel myself, because I didn't really like any of the new stuff that was coming out. I didn't get into it too much. I mean, Civil War, I got into Civil War 2, the Infinity Saga, kind of got into that a little bit. With the introduction of the Black Order and Thanos, that kind of era. But I didn't start collecting grails and keys until maybe about 2 or 3 years ago.
And what
during the boom?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so now you're right in line with us now. So what started that? What started the collecting part of it?
I looked at my X-Men collection that I had amassed and appropriated from my brother
from childhood.
You
You still had that.
Yep. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I tried to keep as many comics as I could. I know I lost some. Don't know where they went because I see when I look through Key Collector, I see issues. I'm like, I had that book. Where did it go? But for the most part, I had my comic book collection. So I started looking through the X-Men and I laid them all out. And I was like, I got a lot of X-Men issues here. Should I go for like a run? Should I try to complete X-Men? I started researching. I'm like, well, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to get a 1 through 300 was that for some reason 300 was in my head.
I think that's
I'm not going to do that.
I feel like when people talk about an X-Men run, like 1 to 300, I feel like is the most common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I noticed I had a bunch of them and I was like, well, you know what I can do? I can do a giant size through 300 run. And about 2.5 years ago, I started it and I finished it minus giant size. I'm not as lucky as you guys, but I've got a 94 through 300 X-Men run.
I can see the 94 right behind your head there.
Yeah. Yep. That's my baby. Jeff from Comix actually worked on that. It's a little disappointing on the condition of the book, but hey, I can always get rid of it and upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, real quick, I want to ask. You mentioned Jeff. Shout out to Jeff from Comix. We've had him on. I wish I had access to Jeff that close to me, but he's worked on your books. Yet I see every book behind you is raw. So you don't like the graded or?
Nah, I don't. I like to put my hands on the book, and I like to see it. I think it detaches a little bit from the nostalgia for me, which is not to say that I don't have graded books, because I do. I've got a Secret Wars 8 graded. I've got a couple of X-Men books. Oh, I've got my Days of Future Past books are graded, and then like an X-Men 102 or something like that graded. So I've got a few here and there, but only because I felt when I was making those purchases, like those were such big books that I wanted to know exactly what I was getting. And I bought them off of eBay. So having that security was cool, and I got a good deal on them. So I can't really complain.
Anyway,
but
you kept them graded though. You didn't crack them out.
No, I didn't. I did crack out a Amazing Spider-Man 238, just when that whole thing was going on with the scam.
Yeah. You wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to.
In there.
I wanted to see like it was a qualified 238, so it had the green label, and I was like, man, maybe I'll send this to Jeff. Maybe I'll find the tattoos and do an insertion, have Jeff do it. So I just took it apart with my bare hands, and I was like, wow. It really kind of threw me off on the whole grading thing. I love the way they look. They're impressive, but I don't want to spend the money, and I like the way they look, and I like the tangible.
Yeah, I mean, my perfect go-to is Mylar to top loader. I think that's how they look the best personally. Not to say that like depending on what I would buy, if it was graded, I wouldn't crack it out, but I'm with you. Like I have no interest in grading anything I own already, like that Silver Surfer one, for example. I would only grade in me, just the cost of grading alone. Like I would rather put that money towards more.
Yeah, for books.
Sure. Now that being said, if I was to come across a book that was like I would say, I honestly, to be perfectly honest, my floor would be like if I came into like a $3,000 book that was raw. That to me, it's like, okay, this is worth it for me to invest in getting this graded for the obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm buying a book of that caliber, as I've mentioned before, just like you said, I'm probably going to get it graded just because of those exact reasons that you said, right? We want to be sure of what we have here to at least the best of our ability.
Especially if it's online.
Yeah. I mean, to me, like the most important things, like the grade number is not like grade number is obviously essential in terms of like evaluating the price. but for me, it's like I'm more invested in the look of it. But what I like the graded part is the verification. There's no restoration because I'm not a restoration expert. Like I'm not going to catch it all. And
Right.
you know, it's online, like it's good to know that I know it's complete, which is something that you could obviously miss something or whatever.
Yeah,
so those
for
are
sure.
the two big factors for me. So tell me, like now that you're back into collecting, you've collected 94 300. Where do your ambitions lie now?
Well, I've got to get giant size, and I've been trying to get Mike's giant size from him.
You want him to upgrade, and Mike, you're talking about Mike from Lunch Money.
Yeah, Lunch Money. I'd like to get his. I sent him a message or two trying to kind of sneak my way in there and see if there wasn't any books that I had that maybe he'd like to trade for. Giant size X-Men for sure. And much like I did with the X-Men collection, where I was like, hey man, I got a lot of X-Men comics. I found that I had a lot of Avenger comics.
Here
and
we go.
I know. And Avengers 1 through 300 is a lot more attainable than X-Men 1 through 300. So I have like a 260 issue Avenger run that I want to get done. And really, I'm only missing the keys, like 1, 4, 8.
Yeah, 8. Yeah.
I mean, no, I don't have any single digits. I think the earliest one I have is like a 13 or a 14. So got a little bit of ways to go on that. And that's realizing how expensive those books are too, and how picky I am, and how, you know, I don't really, if they look good, that's great. But like you said, I don't want them to be incomplete. And it's just when you spend that amount of money online, it's a lot of money for me, and I just want to be 100% sure. So I am being picky with those. I'm hoping that I can find them in person at a con or at a shop so I can feel it and kind of go through the book myself before I make the purchase. So I kind of want to stay offline from purchasing those big books.
I mean, yeah. And I mean, I guess if, you know, before we recorded, obviously you mentioned you're in Massachusetts. And we're obviously good buddies with Mike, and we know the plethora of abundance of people that have comic books in the Northeast. You've got all the shops and the shows and the conventions. And are you kind of taking advantage? So do you buy the majority of your stuff in person?
Man, I'll tell you what, and I don't want to get too much into it, but Mike really kind of sparked me a little bit too. After I had realized that I had the X-Men thing, I started watching YouTube, comic stuff on YouTube. And one of the very first guys that I saw was Mike. And I was probably there watching him from the first month or so that he started. He honestly really got me thinking about conventions and garage sales and yard sales and flea markets. And you know, I saw one of his videos. I went to a place that he went to, had an experience, shared with Mike the experience, and he was like, I had that exact same experience.
That's awesome.
But I didn't want to, you know, be negative on YouTube. He's like, I wanted to highlight the, you know, the good things. And I was like, well, that's kind of like why I like watching him, is because he's really positive, you know what I mean? And it sparked my interest to collecting. And yeah.
Now, you have been a big reader. Has the collecting overtaken the reading, or are you still an avid reader?
I do most of my reading. Like I've got probably 50 or so Marvel Essentials. And when those don't quench the thirst because they're in black and white, I'll go to Marvel Unlimited to read. But I do every now and again take out like my big books and just kind of flip through them.
Okay, so you're not like picking up new stuff coming out of the store on a weekly basis or anything like that.
No, I don't really have a pull list. Like I said, last modern books I was collecting was the New 52. And that's really only because Batman kept me enthralled, and it intertwined in so much other stuff that, you felt compelled to buy those other books as well. But nah, I don't really have a desire for the new stuff and the new. I mean, I'll just read it on Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah, makes sense. I totally get that. Now you have just recently passed a year of doing a little bit of selling, right? And you're more of the I'm selling to fuel the hobby. So talk to me about that. Like, how did you start? What got you to start? How's it going? All that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, what got me to start was the finite amount of space that you have to have this expensive paper, as some people like to call it. I just realized I didn't have any space, and I've got a huge garage out in the backyard, a 2-car garage, and I call it the Garage of Justice. We're in the Garage of Justice right now. It's where I process lots that I pick up. It's where I price things. It's where I list things if I list anything. And I also open it up on Sundays, and have done so with pretty good success for maybe 15 or 20 times since I started. It was really tough during the winter. I mean, it's cold. It's a garage, and it's New England. So that was really tough. But come around like March, I started, I got a heater for the garage, and I started posting on Marketplace, and I open up the garage and I sell out of here. And, I have a lot of people that come, and they're wait. Sometimes I got people waiting.
They physically come to your garage.
Yeah. It's like a garage sale. I just listed as a garage sale, and people come in and look at all the stuff. But really, it arose out of a necessity to get things out of the house and stored somewhere. And then again, I'm like, man, I got a lot of books that I'm not reading, that I bought as a lot to pull out comic books that I did want. And what am I going to do with these? So, I mean, I've got rows, like 20 long boxes of dollar books that, like, they could be probably more than dollar books, but I mean, I've just got so many of them that, I'm a collector and I'm a collector and not really a reseller. So, like, I just come in and browse through my stuff. And if you find an X-Men #4 in there, like, volume 2 X-Men, I've a couple of times, people are pulling keys out of there, and I'm like, well, I guess, they're $1 a piece. So
there you go.
Good luck. But it's not something that I wanted. So I just started needing to get rid of things.
Now, you said, so they're coming to your house, you post on Facebook Marketplace. Are you doing like IG claim sales or whatnot sales or anything like that, or eBay?
So Instagram, I'd like to do some claim sales on Instagram. I need the time. I work full time. And if I was doing this strictly to make money, like my only goal was to make money, I would probably be doing Instagram claim sales. I post keys on Instagram and have probably 500 or 600 posts of just comics that I want to get rid of. And people message me, and they're, sometimes months later, hey, do you still got this book? Like, yeah, here you go. I'll sell it to you. Yeah, I mean, I am approved to sell on Whatnot, and I do have listings up on eBay. But again, the time, and then eBay and Whatnot, man, Instagram doesn't have sellers fees. My garage doesn't have sellers fees.
Yeah, if you got a good thing rolling there, like, why bother? I totally get that.
I just don't think it's just, I don't have a sustainable business for eBay or Whatnot. I could make it work, but I'd probably be losing a lot more money than I want to. And I am not getting lots and collections at a rate where, if I did 1 or 2 Whatnot shows a week, I'd probably be running out of cool stuff to put up on Whatnot, because I'm not out there hustling left and right trying to get lots to resell.
where and how? Talk to me about your process of getting these lots. Like, how are you finding them? Talk to me about that.
So I do look on Craigslist and Marketplace for people in the local area. I like looking through old comics, man. I'll check the classifieds. I'll go to their house and I'll look through them. If there's books in there that I want, make an offer, and I sell the rest. And I go to a place in Rhode Island, an auction house, and you can get some really good deals, $20, $30, $40 long boxes. So
yeah,
that's
JP goes to an auction weekly, and like he's definitely come away with like boxes of comics like that. So
it's nuts. I mean, I can go in there and flip through them before the auction starts. I have my notebook. I write down, which lots that I want, and I bid on them. And I don't ever pay more than what I want to pay for them. So it's a really good way for me, I find, to get a lot of books, take what I want out, and have enough to maybe make a couple of bucks on the side. And I got a couple of friends that have incognito shops, let's say, just kind of like warehouse spaces, honey holes, maybe, if you will. That they're the guys that are going to garage sales, and they're the guys that are going and doing all the legwork and resale, and all the work that it takes to resell. And I'm just grabbing books off of them at like super cheap prices.
What's the biggest lot that you've bought? Just curious.
I think I have one on my Instagram. My trunk was full of long boxes. I think it was like 6 long boxes in the trunk and 2 or 3 in the back seat. I just kept winning bids and ended up probably, like 8 or 9 or 10 long boxes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Talk to me more about these garage sales. Like, how many people are showing up to the garage for these? And is it just comics, or do you sell other things at your garage sale?
So I mentioned that I like video games and I'm super interested in them. I'm looking over here at all the stuff that I have in the garage. No, it's branched out into video games now, retro video games like Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. So I don't just do comics, and I do the same thing with the games. I grab the ones that I want, mostly the ones that are in box, complete in box, and then sell the rest.
Yeah. JP, what's up?
Hey, JP.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, man?
Neil is telling us about he hosts actual in-person garage sales where he's selling books right out of his garage. He's talking to us about that. He's also selling retro video games out of there as well, which is cool. Now, have you done any of the graded video games? I'm just curious.
No, same thing with the graded video games, man. I just don't. They're too expensive, and the garage it's not, that's not where I'm specializing in. If I had a shop, for sure, that's because that's where the money is. But like I said, what I do, I'm grabbing lots and I'm grabbing collections, and I'm just pulling the things out that I want and trying to get my money back and maybe make a little bit on the side. And it's fun.
You said you are an avid gamer, so you're still playing video games then a lot today?
Yeah, my boys are probably like, "Where's Caesar?" So
now, are you playing new video games, or are you playing these retro games that you're buying and selling?
I don't play the retro games too much. I'm on Xbox. Yeah.
Okay.
New games.
Okay, got it. So you mentioned your boys. I want to ask, are the boys into the comics?
I got one friend. Yeah, he's really into comics, and we kind of just happened to start talking about it.
Oh, you meant like your boys, like your friends. I thought you meant like your kids' boys.
No, my Xbox boys.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead with what you were saying. So you do.
Well, yeah, I kind of just stumbled across I didn't realize how much of a collector he was until one day he was like, you might not know this, but I got a really cool shirt from a guy named Jim Lee who signed it. I'm like, yeah, I know who Jim Lee is. I was like, how'd you get a Jim Lee signed t-shirt? He's like, well, went to a convention. I met him one time, shook hands with him. He's an older guy from the Southern accent, and I was like, man, I didn't know you like comics. He's like, I got myself quite a collection, and we started talking about comics, and it was it's good. I don't really have a lot of friends in my area. Nobody that I really hang out with collects comics. I'm kind of like,
welcome to the club. This is why we're all online for it.
Exactly. I've got 1 or 2 friends local that are semi into comics, but yeah, all my friends are online.
At least there's one close to you. I don't think I have one that's closer than maybe 150 miles.
Yeah, yep. I mean, what about the people that are coming to the garage sale? There's no friendships that picked up there.
Yeah, I've met a couple of guys. I got a couple of people that come by quite often on the regular now. So I've made a couple of friends with that. One of the guys is super into retro games, and I'm always getting those. And then another guy that I met through another friend happened to stumble on my garage sale, and we were like, "Hey, you're the guy from?" I was like, "Yeah." You had asked before too how many people I get. I can get anywhere from like low end 5 people all the way up to like 20 or 30 people. I mean, I remember a few weeks ago, I had like 5 people waiting at 9 a.m. to get in. And I don't think, unless nobody shows up, I don't think I've made less than $200 or $300 every time I open up. So,
dang. Wow. Now,
yeah, I mean, people love coming out and flipping through comics.
How do you advertise this?
Just on Marketplace.
Huh.
That's it.
That's awesome.
Marketplace and groups and like yard sale groups. And that's it. And I don't know if I could really, I don't think I need to outreach any further because most of the time I get
30. Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, it's doing the job. And now doing this kind of sparks me wanting to open up a shop, of course. So I think, those are some things that I'd like to think about. And I've always wanted to own my own business, and this is kind of getting me a taste for it, dipping my toe into the numbers of it.
With the setup you have in your garage, I mean, you could probably just at least, dip your toe in doing like more actively online before you ever have to think about like signing a lease to rent a space to do something like that,
Yeah. It's definitely something that I'd like to do. I'd like to be able to sell new comics, have a wall of new comics and some back issues and some toys and all that good stuff that you get it when you go to your LCS.
Yeah,
because we don't really have.
I say, what about maybe doing an antique store that you can rent space from for a short period of time? And
that's a good idea.
Yeah, I could definitely. I was actually looking into maybe a flea market space, but it's tough. I work in a retail job, so Saturdays and Sundays are not always guaranteed, and some of those places, And I like doing the garage. It's at my house, and I'm comfortable, and it's fun, and I don't have to move my inventory anywhere. I don't have to hike it around to conventions.
I think you got a good thing going, and if you did want to expand and increase sales to like, let's just say you wanted to do this for a living, I think with what you have already, I think the online would be an excellent avenue to expand, and then you're still in your garage, not having to move anything, not having to pay rent for anything extra. Like it's already all there. I think that's great.
Yeah. It would be nice if I could find a way to usurp, to be online and reach as many people as I could, but just avoid all those selling fees. Because again, I'm like, do I really want to fill out a 1099? Like, I kind of don't. Like,
if you're going to do a business if you have your own business, you're going to have to do it that way, and do a Schedule C and have expenses to write off and stuff like that. So the way you're doing it now is probably the best way to do it. Cash on cash in your garage, and you're going to maximize your profit. Now, if you do the thing with eBay is that until they change the law, that $600 law has not gone through yet. So if you buy enough on eBay and sell enough, you don't get a 1099.
Okay.
So
yeah, they were sending me messages about that, and it really turned me off. And when I sold the book, a $300 book, and I got like $224 for it, I really started thinking to myself, like, man, is it really worth it? Like,
here's the thing: if you don't have rent to pay in your garage, right? You have your time involved,
for sure.
And that, I have a woman who has an antique store not too far from me, and I told her I sell online, and she said, "Wow, you pay a lot of fees." And I said, "Well, you have $500 a month rent every month, no matter if you sell something or don't. So kind of like the flat tax, or they call it the consumption tax. If I sell, I pay, and I'm okay with that because my inventory is I'm selling the stuff I don't want to keep. But if you have the inventory you do, and your garage is probably the best, word of mouth, Facebook, you get $200-300 a weekend or a day. It's a pretty good deal over the course of a month. And this is not your primary job, obviously, that you mentioned.
Nice little nest egg to work on to buy what you want. Like, I think it's great.
I mean, the only cost is your time, and that's is probably worth it to talk to everybody who comes to your garage.
Yeah, I mean, three or four garage sales, and you could buy a GSX-1, at $200-300 a pop.
If I didn't have a spending problem, that could probably have happened already.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think to me that all comes down to part, because like this is something I think about a lot, because a lot of people are like, oh, I can't afford X, I can't afford Y, I can't afford whatever, and really what it is it's not that you can't afford, it's more of a like, where do your priorities land? Because like you said,
right,
you're making $200-300. Let's just say if you're doing this weekly, that's $800 to $1,200 a month. Like, if you didn't spend it, you could easily get GSX-1, but you're also using the money you're buying already quite quickly, so you're probably not piling it up.
I'm buying lots that are some of them are expensive to get a few books out of them, and I use the money that I make on the weekend, and I buy other lots and bigger lots to get a couple of games and stuff out of it. And they just inevitably get more expensive as you go. So I find that almost every dollar I make goes back into putting something else out on the shelf, because I really just love kind of hanging out here and doing it.
Yeah, that's a totally valid way to collect and enjoy that's a total valid way to enjoy the hobby. I would just say, like, if you did want that GSX, right, like, just put away a little bit in a jar or something, and just add, over time, you'll it'll if you do a little at a time, it's not going to take away from the overall inventory refills that you need to do. And in a couple months, there's your GSX-1.
Yep. I'm still hoping to find it at a con.
Yeah.
At a good price.
You may get it one of these days in one of these lots that you're buying.
Which mid-grade?
Yeah. Something with a clean cover. I don't really care about the grade. Obviously, if I'm going to buy it graded, there's a price level with which is assigned to a grade. I would say my graded budget would be like a 4 right now. I mean, a couple of grand.
Yeah,
I think 4.5 right here.
Yeah, I think you get a 4. What's a 4 right now? Like $1,400. I think $1,400 to $1,600 somewhere, or $1,400. I think somewhere in there. Yeah. I mean,
it should be right around that area. But good luck finding them. I mean, everything that you see on eBay is, super overpriced, and you never win an auction.
I bet you could string together, like Mike. Mike from Lunch Money, right?
Yes.
Yep. Right. So the books you have in the back there, since they're not, you own them, they're your inventory. It isn't like you have a shop and consignment. I'm sure you could string together a pretty good trade and probably put $500 plus $1,000 in trade and be done.
We were talking about that before you got here. I did mention that I sent Mike a little message and put the bird in his ear that I would like his giant size X-Men. So yeah, that's already been
Well, Neil, I'll also tell you this: if you want some help with it, like I could find you a 4.0 GSX1 on Instagram that you could pick up. Now, obviously, that takes away from buying it in person, but that is also another avenue to go by.
No, Neil,
I mean, I'm always open.
Did you watch Predator, the first one with Schwarzenegger?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Remember the guy who could track anything? Remember the guy, the guy at the end? He actually had to cut himself across when he fought. That's Rohan. He can sniff out any deal. This guy can track anything, whether it was from this world or another world. Rohan can sniff out a deal. So I forget. I think his name was Billy. Billy. That's what we should call you, Billy.
I need to make like a little gif of me just like slashing my chest at it.
And then he came at me. So, yeah.
Was that the guy with the minigun?
No, that's Jesse
the bald head.
No, this
was
he was Native American.
His partner. Okay, the Native American guy. Okay.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about for sure.
Yeah, so it was him. Billy was his name, and then the other two guys was Jesse the Body and Mac. Mac had the M60.
Mac, that's it.
Gatling gun. He said,
yes.
That was a bit.
Neil, I did want to. I want to go back a little bit. Like, what happened to your brother? You appropriated all his comics. Now you're back into it again. You still is he not got back into it? Has he not been like, hey, those are mine?
Nope. Nah, he once college hit with him, I mean, he would probably pick up some specialty comics here and there. He never stopped loving comics, but he wasn't like collecting comics. Like, nah, he just, and that's why, that's why I could appropriate him. And without him pile driving me into the sofa or something, because he was 12 years older than me. He just didn't want him anymore.
And he has not gotten back into it at all. He's still out then.
Yeah, completely out.
He does not feel that he is owed some type of contemporary or what is it? The word? Some damages or some money for what these things are worth. I mean, at all. He's okay with just giving them.
Nah, I mean, all I really got from him was some beat up, read to death, early 200s X-Men. Nothing really massive, and then just a bunch of random Spectacular Spider-Man, Marvel 2-in-1, Triple Action, stuff like that. Although I do remember him having and not knowing what it was, the first appearance of Darkseid. It was Jimmy Olsen, Superman's ex-pal, Jimmy Olsen. Yeah. And I distinctly remember reading through that book as a kid and not knowing where it went. One of those books that fell by the wayside. Like, I know I had it. I remember the cover. Where did it go? But that was probably the only book that I can really think of that
and again,
he had. That was
how good a shape was it? It's a couple $100 book. It's in good shape. So
I was 6 years old and reading them, so with no concept, so it was a well-read issue for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, like, you'd roll them up, put them in your back pocket and on your bike, and off you go. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, for sure. And what's funny about my brother not collecting anymore either is he's an artist. He took commercial art. He's made his own comic strips before.
Oh, wow.
He is a phenomenal artist, and I used to look up to him because he could draw me pictures of whatever I wanted. You know what I mean? Like, draw Iron Man fighting Thor with the Hulk jumping in, and he would just put it on paper, and I'd be like, oh my God, he wrote me my own comic books. You know what I mean?
Well, tell us a little bit about that. Who were the characters in this comic book?
Oh man, I honestly don't remember. I can remember the storyboard, and I can remember him penciling it and writing it and asking me for my input and what I wanted the characters to be like and what should be the plot. And he would just draft it up for me, comic book style. He would pencils and then ink and then color and then letters, and he would have a whole storyboard with panels and everything
you still
written out
have
for
any
me.
of these?
No, definitely not.
That'd be cool to see.
He might in some of his old art portfolio, you know, those big artists kind of like carry-alls that they have with their work in it. He has several of those that I'm sure he has some in there. I might be able to find some.
Yeah, I would love to see that. That'd be awesome. That's really cool.
Fun to look back at that because I did a lot of drawing in the artwork. I hate saying drawing, but artwork in the 90s, and a lot of the stuff was copied because I wasn't as much into Avengers or whatnot. But you look back and you see how you progressed. So I'm sure he'd like to find it and see what he progressed from to what he's doing now.
Yeah,
because you somewhere. So you start out like Jack Kirby, McFarlane. That's what happens. You know, you get way more better at what you're doing. So,
yeah, he's not in art at all either. He's in sales. So we both kind of went into the sales field.
He doesn't still.
What was that?
He doesn't draw occasionally anymore. Or no, not at all.
For his own personal.
Yeah, that's what
pleasure,
I mean. You look back
I guess.
at your work from the '90s and look at your new work, and you go, "Wow, look how well I progressed, how much I am, and all that." So.
Yeah. But, he's a good artist, and I always tried to be like him. And I've got some old art books of my own, you know, that I tried to be as good as he was, but I definitely wasn't. So I gave that up.
It's all right. Someone's got to enjoy it. Someone's got to make it.
Right? Yep. I'll read it.
Yep. So. But yeah, how do you got all these stuff? And I'm sorry I missed the beginning, but you have all these things in the back behind you, and that's all.
Yeah, the Garage of Justice.
So does anybody is there a lock that no one hits that garage door open button, or all that shit's gonna fall?
Wait, is that the back? Is that the inside of the garage door? That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, that's my garage door. This is the Garage of Justice. No, and I put those up there to show off. Just those are my cool books.
Those don't normally sit there then.
No. I was like, hey, this has got a little lip. I can throw my books in there and look cool for the interview.
Okay, yeah. I was figuring maybe you were able to lock it or something so that no one would actually. That would.
It's not an automatic garage door, and nobody parks in here. And there's a side door, and I don't, I don't leave those books on there. So
yeah, if I did that, someone would hit the button and fuck up everything you just did. That's exactly.
No, I got it locked. Nobody can open it.
Nice.
There's a couple of grand worth of books on there.
On air with us right now, all of a sudden it starts to open up. You're like,
I know.
The question is, what do you grab first? If that door opens, what do you grab first? I'm thinking the Action Comics 419, I think, behind there.
No, it's X-Men 94 is what he's grabbing.
My X-Men 94.
I see it behind you.
Nah, probably the X-Men 101. That'd be the first one I grab.
I think that X-Men 11 just fall to the ground on that left there. X-Men 11.
JP is the only man on earth that he does not like that cover for whatever.
You don't like that? Oh, JP, I'm so pissed now because I have that T-shirt.
Exactly.
And I was looking for it, and I was like, "Where's my Wolverine shirt? I can't believe I can't find it."
I don't think it's
that would have been perfect.
I don't think it is as iconic as the Punisher comic right next to it. Like that was on video games. The other one.
That's why that's up there. That's the coolest Punisher cover. Then that's a Jim Lee cover.
Wait, which Punisher are we talking about? I can't see which Punisher we're talking about here.
War Journal, number 7, I think it is, or 11.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm tracking now.
Game. I have that one somewhere.
Yep. Okay, yeah. I know that one now. Yeah.
But
yeah,
I don't.
This one was.
I don't think it's as iconic as everyone says it is. It's a fine cover, but I think Jim Lee's made better covers.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it is definitely a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I think his Omega Red X-Men number 4 is a lot better than that. That's probably one of my favorites.
I like 5 better, where it's Wolverine and him face.
Yeah, they're kind of like
that run. That's my favorite cover.
That's a good cover.
Except number 1.
I mean,
be
number one's great, but actually, if I had to pick one, 5 is my favorite. Like, I just love Wolverine versus Omega Red. I think it's sick. I mean, 1 is obviously phenomenal as well, but if I had to pick 5, 5 is my choice.
Yeah. Obviously, one's one of those iconic covers that you can never really. You hear a lot about. You can't discredit it, but it's like, yeah, we know it's X-Men #1, but it's a great cover. Yeah, there's 8 million. Exactly. Like, everybody's got it. So
now the 11 you have back there, that's not the silver version, the second to print, right? That's the first print. That's the red one.
Correct, but I have a second print that I'm keeping for myself. Hence why that is up there right now.
Oh, I see.
So you got a special stash then.
I see. The
I do. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, that's the one that I cracked out of the slab when the whole thing went down with CGC. I wanted to see how easy it was to crack a slab, and apparently you can just do it with your hands. So
you cracked the 238, the ASM 238.
Yeah, it was a qualified.
Okay.
It's qualified. So I was. Yeah, Jeff from Comix was saying that I could insert a tattoos in it and maybe get a press and then send it back out and get rid of the qualified. So it was something I was going to crack anyway.
You could, though, also, that could, if they noticed that, get back purple.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have known a guy that does that, and he oftentimes gets a blue label. He is now, maybe it's a green that he gets it. He has been like caught on a few of them though, and they've given him. I don't know I can't remember if it's a purple or a green. But the thing is like the tattoos, the same exact tattoo pack is used in like several other books. So it's not like you have to buy an 238. You can buy. It's like there's like a cheap Fantastic Four book or something like that. You could pull it.
I forgot I have the list somewhere, and that's one of those things where it's like, okay, I got to look for those. But I can probably assume that those books are up there and like in price because of that. Like I would think that it would drive the otherwise non-key book up to a price where it's like,
I think
just for that.
Of the books with tattoos, I think the 238 is the only one of significant value. But you may be right in the sense that like $1 book is now a $15 book just so you can get those tattoos inside.
Yep.
See, I see nothing wrong with that because if the tattoos like 3D glasses can just be inserted in and be done, that should make it complete. Whereas with the Marvel value stamp, when it's cut out, it's cut out. Like there's no way to do it. You know?
Yeah.
So, again, that's why I wish, law is for interpretation. That's why you have attorneys. Grading is for interpretation, but then that seems to be the bottom line, and people make their own assumptions or their own ideas about things, but that isn't the mainstream. Like you can say it's married or not, and then someone can be pissed about it, or you can say I don't trust the grading, whatever. Like it's like the Wild West. You don't really. I still believe
it really is, and we've learned that now that it definitely is the Wild West out there. I mean, they've got a lot to do to earn a lot of people's trust back. I mean, I didn't really do a lot of business with them to begin with, but it didn't help me wanting to at the same rate. So
100%, I'm right there with you.
The only reason we bought expensive books was they were graded, so we felt we trusted them. But after the whole cracking of the slabs, it just I bought a new slab. I mean, not a high grade slab. Let's just put it that way. In a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, like that whole thing, and then now, I mean, I've talked to you guys about this, JP, like with the new 9.9 push. Like, I would just personally not be into purchasing anything high grade from that like late bronze, copper to modern age, because those are all gonna get, I feel, just re-plateaued when we have 9.9s of all of them out now. You know what I mean? So I would just wait on that, in my opinion. So.
It's crazy the amount of 9.9s coming in per month. I forget who it was that I was watching on YouTube the other day.
Probably Neo. It was Neo's the original guy that posted the numbers. Neo Comics.
Yeah.
Comics. Yeah, I mean, hey, and we don't need to go down the whole rabbit hole of CGC. There's plenty of people doing that, but like to me, it's like it's a calculated.
Another hour.
It's a calculated plan, right? Like Swaggle Haas and was it Collectibles' dad? They all did videos on this recently. Said at some point, right? Like obviously, there's going to be modern books that get graded, but these vintage books that we collect, the supply of ungraded ones is only always going to get smaller, right? Because they're not remaking Hulk 181. So every day that goes by, there's going to be less and less raw Hulk 181s, right? So the inventory of vintage comic books is going to decrease of raw ones that is decreased, right? So CGC's got to think by doing business, we are shrinking the amount of supply we could have coming back. So we need to come up with ways to have people, a new revenue stream that has people resubmitting those books, right? That's why Signature Series is big, right? You can have a great book like, I want this signed by Tom McFarlane, resubmission, right? Now we have all these 9.8s. People are like, maybe I get a 9.9 resubmission, right? And now they do signature verifications. Again, now they got CBCS books that have yellow labels. Like people are like, I like CGC better. I'm going to cross it now over to CGC. It's all methods to develop revenue streams for people to resubmit the books. That way they have more supply coming in to keep their business going. And here's the thing, let's just say in 10 years, if 9.9s are the now what a 9.8 is, it probably won't get to that level. But don't be surprised if then there's a later push in the line where they're like, now we need to start looking at 10s, right? Because now that's another reason to push back in. Especially like the notion of the 9.9 now is that people are resubmitting 9.8s and they're kind of doing a comparative grading. Like, okay, these are all 9.8s. Which one of these looks good? This one looks the best. That's going to get the 9.9, right? It's not like people are really submitting ungraded books and those are popping 9.9s. Like it's mostly people submitting 9.8s and getting reevaluated. So
right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, they've got 2 more decimal points that they can use to screw us over. So, I mean, get ready for it. It's sad when 9.9 was always like, I hadn't even seen a 9.9 until very recently at a convention. And it's one of those things where it's like, it exists, but you've never, really, there are not a lot of them. And, I don't know anybody that has a 9.9 anything. And when I saw it, I was amazed. But I asked myself the question, it's like, well, why aren't there a lot of 9.9s? What makes a 9.8 not a 9.9? What makes a 9.9 a 9.9 and not a 10? And there's so many questions surrounding in the subjectivity of it all. And, did you get somebody on a good day? Did you get somebody on a bad day? Does this guy want to get out of work? Like, and he just slaps a 9.8 on it and says, okay, see you later. I mean, it's just so
computer generated grades.
I think that's the future for sure. But I think, with AI,
I'd be okay with that. I'd trust that more than
I think still
than a human.
I think they still need more, because AI is an iterative thing, right? It knows something because it's seen it before. So they just need more books of like different examples of like all the different, like they need hundreds of each little defect and things like that. So they have a repertoire or a portfolio or whatever that the AI can iterate through to be like, okay, it recognizes that from that.
A car can drive itself and maybe hit a few people, as it progresses. And I apologize for anybody, involved in that matter, but they can definitely spend the time to get this to grade books, cards,
sure, why not?
Which is such a lesser, a car's a weapon, so is a cell phone, but an AI generated computer to see, what constitutes a 9.8 versus 9.9, I think is an easier process to get that.
Yeah, on the card side, there is already one, at least I know of one that does say they're using AI to grade your cards. So that is
Really?
Yeah. And
see, that's something that I'm not really
What I think would be cool, and I think you'll obviously see this in the future with cards, is like it would be great. Like, let's just say if you're a card collector, you went to a shop and they had a grading machine there. You know, like PSA just has a machine at shops. You feed your card into it, it goes in, the AI grades it, and it spits it out in the graded slab. Like that'd
be hot.
That'd be sweet. Now that'd be a lot more intricate with a comic that you have to flip through and things like that.
Right.
But, I do think AI is a direct.
By 2015, we were supposed to have flying cars and pizza that we just put in.
Right? Isn't that what the Jetsons said?
Yeah. Michael J.
Marty
Fox
McFly.
Yeah.
Marty McFly.
We don't have those yet, so.
Yeah.
I would have thought we could be able to grade books given that it's really a two-dimensional versus it's minute in regard to, like I was just checking on a Walmart and I'm swiping through and you don't need a cashier anymore, and it said, stop, get the cashiers because it looked like I went too fast, so they wanted to verify how many dog food I'm trying to steal, right? But it knew that.
Yeah.
Wait, you're telling me that it can't identify? I'm sure it could. It's just a cost of CGC versus, and if CBS could do it, CBCS, they would be the kings of it if they could just get DC to make their own labels and get the AI, and then they would.
Here's a phrase that we should all just think. If someone says if CBCS could do it, we should all just assume it's not going to happen.
If they're not.
Yeah.
We're just asking. It's kind of like it's like I don't know how to say it, but like you're just they could take over, or they could become top tier, or at the same level. They just have not, from what I've seen, not made the effort to be there.
No,
right. I feel like they're a little complacent right now. They're happy where they are. It seems like, because I can't see a bigger opportunity that they could have used to better themselves.
So as
than the last scandals going on.
A lot of people will tell you on the card side, like CBCS is owned by Beckett, and Beckett's its own disaster. So it's not surprising that that's the outcome you get with CBCS. So, but yeah, what are you gonna do, right? Neil, no, I think this was a real fun chat. I want to say thanks for coming on. Real quick, while we wrap up, why don't you tell people where to find you? You don't need to give your address for the garage. We know that.
Well, if you're in the New England area, hit me up on Instagram at Omega Level Comics, Omega_level_ comics with an X.
When you said that, by the way, your New England accent came out more than it has in this entire hour.
I've been trying to not let it come out, but sometimes off the cuff it does.
Yeah.
Park the car and have it yard.
Lobster.
Yeah.
You like lobster?
Yeah.
I like Marvel Comics. Guys, it's been really great. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll put all of Neil's links. We won't put his address in the description, but like you said, if you hit me up from area, hit him up on Instagram, and you can get the address that way.
More than likely, on our way back from Terrificon, we may stop at your garage sale.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey man, I'm going to be at Terrificon.
Oh, you are? Right. Great. We'll see you there. We're all booked and ready to go, so we'll see you there in August.
Awesome. I don't think I'm staying over, but it's only an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe from me.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect. I am going to Terrificon, so we'll talk later on. Maybe we'll meet up and
what day are you planning to go?
I was thinking Saturday or Sunday, and I'm not even ruling out the possibility of staying over somewhere either as well.
Yeah, well, there's a whole crew of us that are going to be there Friday, Saturday, and then some of the day on Sunday. So yeah,
maybe we'll talk. Maybe
What's that, JP?
You're having a big party in your room, so everyone's
going to be there. Not the party room. Party room is Colossus. Ryan Clough. He's the young one, a young
nice.
I feel like he can use the party room.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Neil, awesome. Thanks for coming on. Like I said, so.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. JP, it was good talking with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for your shout out on your video, the bad postal rap jobs. That was a great video.
No, thank you.
I appreciate it, and Rohan, for you as well. Thank you for reaching out and giving me the opportunity to laugh and tell my story.
Glad I did. Now we can, keep the conversation rolling, right? So
yeah,
man.
Put a face to the name.
Yep.
So
yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the show. We will see everybody on the next unboxing, the next interview, the next Rohan. What else are we doing here coming up in the future here?
I'm going to do some review episodes for House of the Dragon Season 2. I know that's going to be coming up. So, yeah, a couple of different things. Keep posting on the channel, and we'll be posting about what's going on. And we'll obviously have footage for Terrificon when we meet Neil in person as well. So,
and
as
awesome.
As TiVo would say, keep digging in them long boxes.
There
Peace
you
out,
go.
everybody.
Peace out.